Hey. Ooh, the wave. Hmm.
When we are dancing in, I always think of Satsi Mara,
Yeah.
our one of our volume one authors and our audio producer,
Yes.
and probably going to be a volume three author. She was wanting to do volume two, but life just kind of got in the way. But
Yeah.
I think about her and her being the only certified, um,
Kukuwa dance instructor in Atlanta.
right, Kukua
Mhm.
African dance instructor,
Yes.
and how like we love to do things in community and
Mhm.
also just honoring, like, she's the only one in Atlanta and we're
Right.
connected to her. Like, we have the
Right.
community of having like, I don't know. I think about the awesomeness of the women that we're connected to
Yeah.
and how much richer and the depth of connection has been over this last 3 years of the people that we, like, I don't know. I was thinking about that today after, well, the last 3 days of these lives and some of our authors popping on here, and some of them y'all haven't met yet. We've been
Oh,
doing
I know.
lives for the Women Connected to Wisdom Volume 2,
Yes, the
Stories
launch.
and Resources Rooted in the Eight Dimensions of Wellness. I have been loving, I'm always watching, like, where are we and how are we doing,
Yeah.
and also just what has been so fun for me this launch is to see the reviews coming in, to see that, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's number 4 of you saying that you don't know, right? And we talked about Sati, and you know that her chapter in volume 1 when we went Amazon bestseller was yes, you do know. So I'll say while you're on mute, yes, Christine, you do know. You got this. You've been doing a great job. And I will say for Sati being in the volume, I will say this about the life got in the way. What we know is that everything is strategically orchestrated, right? We could talk about how crazy situations are, all this stuff, but when I say crazy, and I've been working on taking it out of my vocabulary, what I mean is strategically orchestrated, how this one event led to this and this and this, for our good. And when we're in a healthy place, what that can look like. So love having her on our team in all the different ways that we've been able to. And when we talk about volume 3 and her possibly being in it, that's what I'm thinking about writing on. Strategically orchestrated, right? And how did
Mm.
I, this little girl from Birmingham, Alabama, and you one day, this little girl from Texas, right, end up meeting along the journey and then meeting all these other women and putting them in contact with other people. And when we think about the difficult times in life and how you call that one person that you have to call, or the two people, the three people, and that resource that they give you, we're making a list of those people and their resources, like who is that person? And sometimes what we're finding, and we talked about it with Anna about parents, right? It can be hurtful when you're saying, hey, this person taught me how not to do something. But that's the reality of all people, right? Anybody can teach us what to do and what not to do. So I think what's helped me is taking that personal and, oh, I didn't want you to be this person out of it and say, hey, what did I learn from it? Okay, I can use that to be better, and when we do that in community, we start getting better in all different types of ways.
Talking about Anna, like, we had the moment when she was interviewing us on the last live when I realized, like, how she got connected to my world. And it's part of our story and it's part of a greater story.
Hmm.
So it's just, I don't know, I love thinking about those origin stories and thinking about, okay, what got us to this moment right here?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
who, and I'm a big believer, in the United States we have
Mm.
this whole radical individualism, which I just don't believe in. Pull
Right.
yourself up by your bootstraps and do it. Yeah, nobody does it by themselves, right? Nobody.
No.
Like,
No.
somebody did the road, somebody did the, tilled the
Yes.
garden,
Yes.
somebody picked your food for you, like,
Chop
and
down the
or
trees so your house could be
right,
where it is, because I didn't chop down no trees.
right.
Yeah.
And I just think about the amount of women, our team, I think about all the things it took to get to this moment.
Mhm.
And I was saying this on another live. It's easy sometimes, I think, to take it for granted because we
Mhm.
hang out with authors. Like,
Mhm.
this has been
Mhm.
our work for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And but I don't. And when we're in our training calls, so one of the
Mhm.
things we really haven't talked about
Yeah.
this go round is how we support our authors. Like, one of the things about this process is because a lot of our authors are first time writers or first
Right.
time published authors. Like,
Mhm.
they're the people that are like, oh, I have this story, or I know I'm supposed to write this book, or
Right.
I
Yes.
want to be a part of this, right?
Mhm.
One of the things we do through Women Connected in Wisdom and Connected in Wisdom Press is we offer training classes. Like, how do you write a bio in this many words? How do
Right.
you do a speaker one sheet to then take your book and become a speaker? How do
Mhm.
you? And so we were in one of those classes recently, and it was either two or three people brought up at different times
Mhm.
that this was their dream coming true, to be a published author. And so I don't want to ever take that for granted,
Right.
right? That um, that's part of what we do
Mhm.
is help people get their voice out and lift their voice out, but also help a dream come true, right? I
Yeah.
know both you and I had that dream as
Mhm.
kids and nerds, and we were all like, we're going to write a book someday, right? And we
And
have.
but that's the thing is that I didn't think that far into it, right? I appreciated where I was living with it was the opportunity to read and write,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
I would when I went writing, I'm thinking about writing for my homework because I'm able to go to school in America and I don't have to worry
Hmm.
about desegregation and all this stuff, and then reading, how many books can you read? There was actually this time we were doing the AR reading, right? And you have to read a certain amount of books, you know about it, right?
Hmm.
And we were reading in class, and I think her name was Abby, right? And me and Abby were kind of cool and didn't know how cool we were, right? And one day she called me out. She said, "Hey, you're not reading those pages." I said, "Yes, I am." I flipped two pages at a time. I was not reading my pages. And so first I was mad at her for calling me out, like, we're supposed to be friends. How are you calling me out? We're supposed to be
Hmm.
friends, right? But really, if you love reading, right? Shouldn't you be reading and honoring every word on every page? Like if you and so I appreciated somebody like, hey, I see you not doing what you say you're doing and loving me enough to say that and also being able to read my reaction and okay, I need to do better. So when I think about all the books I've read and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants is what I think about a lot, how they're
Hmm.
passing this memento of friendship around the group through mail in
Hmm.
different areas. That's how I think about our podcast. That's how I think about the book and how we share the stories around the world. So it's been
Mm.
beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. And it's been a reminder to think bigger. And that's something that we talked about in the call, right? We had a class on how to deal with the emotional weight of releasing a book, right? It's a
Hmm.
lot to do. It's a lot for the people around you to adjust to maybe the schedule even during the Amazon bestseller campaign or whatever that looks like. Now you have books and hopefully keynote speeches and different things that you're doing. What does that look like when you put it into your workflow and how it affects everybody and their responses? So we had a class on supporting them through that. And instead of only focusing on the things that possibly go wrong. That's not where the center of the class was. It was also don't forget to ask for more than you think is possible. If we know that men apply themselves when they see that they don't qualify for all these things, maybe this is where you're expecting to meet 100% of the qualifications and we're forgetting the magic that happens. I feel like God always has extra credit on there for me. Like I did my part and then when stuff doesn't go to plan, then he can exceed expectations. Then things fall in place in a way that had it gone exactly to plan, you couldn't have planned it that good, which is like us being at volume 2 and we talk about top 10%, but really when we did the calculations, it's like top 4% for the podcast right now. So I say it's
I'm
exceeding expectations.
right. Well, and that the power of showing up, right? The
Hmm.
power of showing up. And I met with somebody this weekend that incredible human being, like has a lot to share with the world. And we were having this conversation, and I said something about our podcast, and he said, "Whoa, yeah, I had a podcast." I said, "Really? Tell me about it." He goes, "I did one episode. It was a lot of work." And it is, right? We don't want to negate that, right?
Right.
It is a lot of work. And it was just fascinating because I know this person has a lot to share with the world.
Mhm.
And we were talking about statistics on the show the other not too long ago about how most podcasts the average is 7 episodes or less.
4.
Is it 4
That's
now?
what the data said that we shared.
Okay.
Mhm.
So 7 was the old one, 4 was the new one, which makes
Got it.
sense when you got people doing one.
Yeah. Right. Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And then yeah, so it's just fascinating. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah. And
And
then
for
what can grow out of it?
exactly. And for me, what it shows is, okay, you were interested in a podcast. You did one. So one, good job for trying. Definitely got to
Mhm,
try to find out that
mhm,
it's not a good fit, right?
mhm.
But us doing podcasts, them doing something else, and us both supporting each other again, now collaborating. Now that's a beautiful thing. And you can do the thing
Yep.
that you're committed to the work, but it doesn't feel like work. And guess what?
Mhm.
Anything you do is going to be a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make corn tortillas from scratch. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of work to take care of children, to do that thing that you're committed to, but when you're loving what you're doing, then it feels different. So I'm glad that they did it
Mhm.
once and felt that way and were able to understand, like, yeah, it takes a lot to do.
Yeah.
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 That's how I felt with kickboxing. I started kickboxing and it was crazy, Christine, because I was not losing weight. And I said, how am I kickboxing for 3 years and I'm basically at the same size, right? I had to
Mhm.
realize I was not being consistent. You're paying every
Mm.
month. You're not going every month. Okay. Like
Mm.
this is only affecting your bank account, not your waistline. And I had to be honest with myself, because I wasn't showing up for the appointments that I had paid to be at. And so just things like that, those habits that we do every day to get us to what we see for ourselves is what
Right.
I love being able to set that up in a healthy way with the wisdom from the ladies.
Well, I think the other thing is, we often talk about interplay, and I talk
Yeah.
a lot with my clients, my coaching clients, is first of all just noticing, like, what
Mm.
is it that you want to create?
Right.
Because sometimes we're so busy doing, we don't take a moment to pause and take that deep breath and notice. Like, and you and I often talk about having times we evaluate or we do a SWOT analysis, or that it's okay to pause and
Hmm.
reflect and what's working and what can be improved on and what do we need to do. And
Yeah.
I think that's in life and in projects, right?
Hmm.
And the other thing I'm really noticing, especially because this may be our last live, who knows? We might do more over the weekend. We don't know. We've got all these authors out here, but right now, this is the last one we have scheduled.
Right.
And I'm noticing that, often there's a little bit of a letdown after a big project. And we still
What do
have
you
more
mean?
work to do behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
We always do, as we have birthed this new book baby, and we were
Yes.
going to be sharing her with the world.
Mhm.
But when you work towards something, like you're doing it, you're in it,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden it's done,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, okay. So that rest and celebrating that
Hmm.
Cecile talks about,
Hmm.
versus going just immediately into the next thing. That I think that's one of the things we do well in community in
Yeah.
order to avoid that, like falling off a cliff.
And that's what I want to talk more about. What is where is the fall off of the disappointment at the end of the project?
Um, well, I think that there's a lot of ways. Like I'll
Yeah.
just speak for myself.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, it's a change of schedule sometimes. Like a
Hmm.
lot of times you've been spending more hours on something that then all of a sudden doesn't need it, or maybe it does. It just needs to shift.
Yes.
It could be, it's like when you were in band. Were you a
Yes.
runner?
No, because band practice was during track
I
and
thought,
cross
yeah,
country. Yes. So I
yeah.
started
So
running in COVID.
I was a runner, and you're a
Yes.
runner now. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, when you cross that finish line,
Yeah.
right? You realize how tired you are sometimes.
Mhm.
Like you're like, okay, I
Yes.
did this big thing and now I'm
Mhm.
tired,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes I just think about all of that. I think about, and it doesn't mean you don't come back up, but
Right.
I've talked with a lot of people about this over the years. When
Mhm.
something really exciting happens, sometimes there's a little bit of a, oh, what now, right?
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
and I, we jumped in from volume one and went into volume two.
And and I think the fact that here we did a hell of a job,
Right?
and
Absolutely.
and that's what I love because in every situation, again, you're a student and a teacher and go back and forth,
Right?
right? And you said something, let's see, we were talking about, here, actually, you keep going and I'll see if I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. I don't I don't even know.
That's okay. We
I
don't have to
lost
go
our
back.
train. It's
Oh, where
okay.
we are.
I
It's
was
okay. Let's
thinking
go to a
about
new
us
station.
resting and celebrating with Cecile
Yes. Yes.
and
Oh, and so
celebrating with our authors.
that's what I was gonna say. So I
Yep.
was having this conversation with a gentleman. So actually, I was door dashing one day, and gentleman ended up starting a PE program for after school children and had ordered pizza. I picked up the DoorDash slate and he was like, "You can keep it, right? We minimize dairy to be intentional on our physical wellness, right? But pizza is amazing and we still eat it sometimes. But I knew that we had enough food at home. So I didn't necessarily
Hmm.
need this pizza. And I pay attention to the libraries because I think about where we could have book signings, where there could be women connected in wisdom books, where there could be connected in wisdom press books, right? And I've consistently noticed that in front of this library, there's always what's a better word than homeless? What's a more considerate
Um,
word?
tra- um, Transitioning out of being unhoused.
Right,
Unhoused
transitioning.
is like the,
Right,
yeah.
is a more
Hey,
considerate.
can I interrupt you for some late breaking great news?
Sure.
We are currently
Our
sitting at number one in new releases in anger management and self help. Giving a big old shout out to Eileen Dillon, our Amazon bestseller. This is with
Hey,
the
and guess
paperback
what?
copy.
Look what time it is.
This is not,
5:17. It's my
this
birthday,
is,
Christine.
uh,
This is not
so
the ebook.
this is not the ebook. This is the paper
Oh,
book. We are sitting number one with the paper book
I
in
love it.
anger management and self help right now.
Congratulations, ladies.
Yes,
Oh, Amazon
congratulations,
bestsellers.
Amazon bestsellers.
Amazon
And
bestsellers.
then we're looking at it while it's
Oh,
live.
you know what I have here?
Fantastic.
The victory bell.
Oh, thank you, Victory
Hey.
Bell. Thank you, Victory Bell. Yeah, just captured that. Let me put the link in here we go. I'm going to put the link in our comments
And it's my
for folks
birthday.
that want to
Oh,
go right. Here we go. Top
I
new
love it.
releases. And you can get it, y'all. Right now, you can
Mhm.
get it in Kindle for $1.99, or
Yes.
paperback is $16.99.
Yes.
And so fun,
Hmm.
so very fun.
I love it. Congratulations. How do you
Yeah,
feel? Amazon
delighted,
bestseller publisher.
delighted
Did I
because
say that correctly?
right, so fun to have
Yeah.
now two books that are Amazon bestsellers, and delighted for our authors,
Yes.
delighted for all the work that you've put in, that I've put in, that our team has put in, that are, this, it takes a village, and
So
it's
glad my village
exciting,
is strong. Whew.
right?
So glad my
It
village is
is,
strong. Yes.
yeah. So very cool. Yeah,
Ooh.
and all our chapters are powerful, y'all. All our chapters. And Eileen Dillon's about anger it doesn't surprise me that it came in on that category. Like, it is
It's
a
amazing.
powerful chapter about how to
And
deal with anger.
with anger, and let's talk about the lean towards emotional and mental wellness that we had in this book,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we thought and expected when we sat down at the plan and made perfect square lines in nature, right? That we wanted 30 authors or at least four in each category, right? And felt
Mm-hmm.
like it was, is it possibly uneven? I said, no, what's supposed to happen will happen, right? And why would I not be upset after the last 3 years? Why would I not be upset after every time I look at the news and talk to somebody? And this stuff it'll keep you there, you know? So that's why I love the fact that that's where the majority of our resources came this year, because we knew that with everything
Mm-hmm.
everybody was holding,
Mm-hmm.
they would need it. And Eileen's is useful. All of the chapters help with that, like we said. And we know that people are angry. So for people to be looking for resources, one, shout out to you guys for
Mm-hmm.
looking for the resource, right? Shout out to Eileen for starting 51 years ago so we could be sitting here in 2023 like we have some answers and some studied resources for you, you know. And shout
Mm-hmm.
out to the ladies for showing up and making it available. So, you know, her books that talk about the 12 emotions and all of her works can be highlighted, but they can also come with these other things. So if you need help with anger, you can also get help with slowing down. You can also
Right.
get help with being in tune with your body and being connected to nature and not thinking that your worth is less because you didn't go to the gym, but you paid for the membership. So you're still at a size 14. It's okay or whatever size it was because that's what it was. But it hasn't been that for a long time. And we can get better, intentionally and in a community. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. Woo!
Congratulations. We could take a
Thank
moment.
you. I'm
Like,
taking a moment because I'm
yes.
also looking. So Amazon's been a little different this time, like with the
Yeah,
rankings and things like that.
it has been.
Um, and so I need to go looking at other categories because we're
Hmm.
very clearly showing number one on one, but in another ranking, we're showing number 50. So I'm wondering if I've missed a couple of other categories just because, if y'all have been following along, I've been sick this week. So my brain has not been functioning as well as it usually functions. So
So,
I may do a little sleuthing to see if there's
mhm.
more than one category that we're hanging out at
so
number one in.
So
So,
let's continue to give flowers in real time because I
mm,
definitely hear you on the fuzzy brain, things that can happen. So you guys know on October 26th, Christine would not be here. She would be resting. Okay. And you are showing up. So you get the Super Trooper trophy too. You know
yeah,
what
I'm
I
being
mean?
snagged.
And
Sometimes, like as I was about to go live, because my
yes,
family, because I've been doing a lot of caregiving this year, so
yes, you
I was
have.
having a
Yes.
family check in for something, and I
Hmm.
said I gotta get off the phone. I've got to go live, and they're like, "Hey, when you're sick, you're supposed to be resting. You teach this stuff," and I'm like, "Yes," and I have been resting in between the lives. I have let go of the things I can let go of, but
Hmm.
when we have 12 authors that have put their heart and soul into this
I
and
understand.
incredible stories. I'm not gonna. I mean, you know,
Yes,
I'd
I
have
do.
been I'd have been streaming in from the hospital if I'd have had to.
And I would have been like, no. So please know that
But
Christina's a white middle-aged woman, and we talk about it. We talk about her generational wealth and how she's been able to take care of her family, but everybody has sacrificed to get the
right,
wellness out there. And I feel like what I realized learning how to operate in all these different environments is that every environment you go into, there's going to be a sacrifice. Like every kitchen I go in, I'm gonna get burned. That first burn, that first cut, that first you do something wrong and you got to figure it out. So, um, yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing, and to know that we can get on a video and hey, what do you do? Oh, you have a corner in your garden. Okay, these are the specific herbs you have. This is what you do. The type of tea that you like out of the top 100, and get those remedies that even if we were close to, we might not have thought about it exactly like that, and add all of that, and the next time it'll be better.
right.
Yes.
I That's one of the things I love about our community. Like we've been doing a lot of these lives, but we've been learning tips from each other along the way. It
Yeah.
hasn't just been, yes, of course we want you to go buy our book. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we're here for. Like we want to share
Mhm.
these stories. We want
Yes.
to, and you're going to be hearing more from us because
Mhm.
we're about to have two audiobooks coming out.
Yeah, we
The
are.
request has been, you
It's been
know,
made
we
already.
want to hear these authors' voices. And
Yes.
so that's coming. And and we also just want to be in community with you. Like, what's working for you? What are you
Right.
celebrating? What are you giving yourself kudos for in the
Mhm.
midst of this year? Like,
Yeah.
2023 has, I mean, we keep saying it, but boy, these last 3 years, like, it's like, all right, y'all. And it's been a lot for a lot of people. And
Yes.
there's been glimmers of hope and joy.
Yeah.
I
And
can't
every day.
remember, we've been doing so many of these. I can't remember if we talked about this. Did we talk about glimmers versus triggers?
No, let's talk about it.
So this is a new term coming out of psychology and coming
Mhm.
out of the therapy field.
Mhm.
And we often talk about triggers and how people get triggered and things activate our energy and we get upset about things. And this new term is called glimmers. And it's looking for the good. It's like what we talk about in interplay, where we
Mhm.
look for the good and we affirm the good. But if you look for glimmers throughout the day,
Mhm.
right? If you look for the things that spark joy in you, that bring you happiness, that, even in the midst of being sick or in the midst of something really hard or a hard
Yeah,
project, that
exactly.
what's bringing you joy,
Yeah,
and I think about the glimmers of the conversations we've had over the last 3 days, like giving shout outs to people,
yes.
um, talking about cold remedies, talking
Mhm.
about tea.
Yeah,
Like, these are the things. I love a good kitchen table conversation. Like, I
yeah,
love sitting around the kitchen table and snacking on something with my friends and drinking tea. And the conversations that come up from that is what I think about. One of the things we've been able to create with the podcast and the book, it's like sitting down and having those conversations. And
yeah.
yeah,
And that's what
which,
I thought about going into the psychology program at Kennesaw State, right?
mhm,
Again, was me noticing that people, even the popular people, because before I was cool with everybody, but I would have considered myself in the middle because of the fact that people tease me, right? But I was cool with everybody. So I figured if other people would say, nah, she's probably not one of the cool people that have everybody around her. So even watching people who had all these people around them still not being known and knowing each other, to me, that was crazy when you think about life. And when, again, if you get to a funeral and realizing that you didn't know this person, for me, that's tragic. So, how do we do that on a day to day basis and know ourselves better and get to know our community better? Is just talk to that
mhm,
person like an actual person, like, let go of what you thought it might be and just hear this person where they are, and you don't have to be in the same place as them, in life. We're in different seasons at different times and different projects and different businesses and different stages, but I can still hear you in your stage and say, "Wow, I can see how that might be difficult. I'm glad you told me that, so now I can do it for the next 30 years and have a compounded better effect, and be better prepared when I get there."
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The power of listening. I think it's important. Oh, I think it's really good.
Were you gonna read something for us?
I was trying to get back to our reviews, because
Okay.
that's the other beautiful thing that is happening is right now we are sitting at 28 ratings. We're at
Mhm.
a 5-star review,
Yes.
and I just I'm just grateful, y'all. Like, I am always grateful that people show up to buy it and people take time to review it, because and I try to do this with my friends that are authors or even strangers when I see their books, because we know how much work and love and energy goes into this. And you know, and some people say, well, it could be different because it's a compilation book. That's a yes and, because we wrote
What do you
chapters,
mean?
but Shannon was, well, I think about, we weren't responsible for the whole 100+ pages, right?
Right.
As writers, we
Mhm,
were as weavers of the
mhm,
stories, and
right.
you as project manager, and I mean, and it's a big deal. There's a lot of work, right?
Yes,
It is a little different than writing your own full novel or full,
absolutely.
but it has its differences, right? It has a different task list that goes with it.
It does.
And you know, there's 14 of us working
Yes.
together. And that doesn't
12.
even include our editorial, well, I think
12
14
and
when I
14
think our
chapters.
editorial staff, and
Got you.
maybe more even,
I hear
maybe
you.
15 or 16.
You know what I
But
mean? You gotta
when we think about our whole
Yeah.
team and we think
Yes.
about our authors and we think about all the things that had to come together, right? I think about, I mean, almost everybody on our team had big stuff. So there were births, there were
Literally
deaths,
everybody, yeah.
there were deaths,
Mhm,
there were hospitalizations, there were moves,
mhm,
there was car accidents. Like, I mean, life
mhm,
happened to our
mhm.
authors and to
Fraud.
our team
Yeah.
this year,
Yep. Mhm.
and so I am just grateful. I'm
Yes.
grateful that we're at this point. I'm grateful that we've hit Amazon bestseller. I
Yes.
am grateful that we have 28 ratings and
Yes.
we
Thank
have
you for all the
folks
reviews.
that have are reviewing this, and
Yeah.
I keep getting drawn to the same ones. Like, I try to read different ones at different times,
Yeah.
but let's see. This one is being responsible for self. This is Miss Delilah. I know Delilah. She's one of our listeners. This is
Delilah,
Cecile's
Delilah.
mom, and she's one of our regular
Oh,
listeners.
wait a minute.
On
Oh,
Right?
we need
I'm
a
pretty
moment of
sure.
silence for Miss Delilah.
Maybe or
I
maybe
think you're
not,
right. No, I
because
think you're right. I think I do remember her name being something that was easy to
well, her
remember.
name is Delilah, but there's a lot of Delilahs out in the
And
world.
she was
So
excited. She was
it
talking
could be
about the
Miss
book this
Delilah, it could
morning.
not. Yeah.
Okay,
But it
either way,
says,
we're grateful.
these women are knowledgeable, and each chapter gives you something to work with and bring the information into your life. There are a lot of little surprise tidbits throughout the pages. It is an easy read, and you can start implementing these things from each chapter. Aw, thanks,
Yes.
Delilah.
Start
I usually call her
implementing.
Miss Delilah, but the review says
Yes.
Delilah. So thank you, Delilah.
Thank you so much. I love that.
Right?
And yes, as project manager, my favorite thing, and there's a list of things I loved about it, right? But I feel like drum major now. And drum major, something I wanted, Christine, I wanted it. But you know what I love more than drum major? The field, baby. I had to be
Right.
marching. We had to win grand champion. And we
Right.
did multiple
Right.
times, right? And so that was a trade-off. And I sacrificed me wanting to be the leader in the drum major to be section leader for the flutes. And so to be able to weave all this stuff together like magic, now
Mhm.
I'm drum major, as a
Mhm.
business owner, that's how I feel like drum major in those different positions. And
Right.
what I learned through working with all these different teams with band, right, in the water breaks, make sure that you take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Shout out to Dr. Davis. He was great at, hey, if the heat gets crazy, we're going to wrap it up. And I think, if I don't remember incorrectly, I think Dr. Davis was from Texas, and he did
Mm.
not play about the heat. And he was telling us
Right.
about locking our knees and make sure that as you were executing, and we will execute
Yeah.
excellently, right? Make sure that we're on and we can wrap it up when we do it right, but take care of yourself throughout that. And that's why in the chapter I had to take the time, and Cynthia helped me with this, taking the rest and making it the extra step. I was trying to make the system shorter, right? I wanted it to be three
Mhm.
things, five things, and it's longer than that. But when you check in with your team throughout, you can pivot, get their little tidbits like we're just talking about, what's working right now, let's see where we are, let's pivot if we need to, and then we'll end together. And when you do that and then you rest, it's amazing, because playing full out, when we're talking about living in your purpose and showing up as your best every day, you should be tired at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You spent your all for that day, because guess what? Tomorrow you wake up with a whole nother tank for 24 hours if you got the whole 24. And tomorrow has what it needs in tomorrow. Today has what it needs today. So when I'm tired and we've had how many lives and how many hours of work in between and all the things that we juggle, I'm super excited to be tired from writing books internationally, uplifting people's voice, right? Royalties and community and podcasting and letting women write in their own names than something else that I could have been doing. And that
Right.
might be added to the list later on, but this is where we're at right now, and I'm
Right.
excited about it.
You want to hear another review?
Yes,
I'm just digging these, and you may have already seen some of these because you're doing awesome on our graphics.
let's
But
see. I didn't hear
this is
Delilah's.
from
I'm excited.
This is from Bright Wings. What we have to learn about wellness. This is a 5-star review. We learn through stories, and this book is a terrific example of this. What does it mean to be well? The stories in this book reveal, amplify, and inspire us to dig deep and consider everything that wellness can be, and invite us to become more skillful in nurturing not only our own wellness, but the wellness of our families, communities, and the world. Through a diverse collection of author experiences and backgrounds, we are given a rich tapestry to explore the many facets of wellness. The lens of diverse experience is, in my humble opinion, critical to understand when we consider what wellness really means and why it's worth the effort to attain. I'm
Mm,
a person whose life journey has led me to take more interest in my own wellness, but even so, there is always more to learn. And the best way to do that is to venture beyond the scope of what is familiar and to listen to other voices and see other perspectives. I learned a lot from this collection, from the respected authors and their stories, and highly recommend it to everyone. Thank
wow.
you, Bright Wings.
Thank you, Bright Wings.
Right?
Whew.
Mm,
And that is what I do it for, to be able to, and it's just one person. If one person was able, and I think one of our first reviews was, I had a difficult year. I'm in a tough
hmm
space, and this made me feel not alone. That's all I needed. And it was
Right?
that before we started, because our stories have benefited us and helped everybody in the group improve their wellness in different dimensions. So that's what it's about.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful
Grateful.
review.
Grateful.
Super
Grateful.
grateful.
Y'all will be seeing more of them because we like to share them.
Oh, no, they will be shared, okay? And we have more from volume 1, because there's like 72 graphics over there. So stay tuned, guys. We have again, audiobooks coming for you. We have more from our authors. They have other publications coming out. We have other resources coming for you. But you got another review you want to share?
No,
I
actually,
see.
we read this one earlier today. It
Okay.
just looked different. Sometimes I look different and I get all excited and I'm like, oh, we've read that one. It's okay.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's so beautiful. Yes, I love it.
right?
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, I think this with any art, right? And any artist, never underestimate the body's need for reassurance. Like,
Mhm.
we knew it was a good product. You and
Right.
I did. We've
We
worked
did.
with these stories
Mhm.
for
We knew the
months,
sacrifices would be worth it.
right?
Yeah.
And it is validating to
Mhm.
have people affirm and say good things. And
It
just,
is.
I'm so excited for our authors.
Mhm.
And, which over half of them, I don't know our
Right.
stats on this book,
Right.
first time authors.
That's what we need to get. So I know in
Hmm.
volume 1, we had 18 and 15
Hmm.
of us were first-time authors. What I need to get is how many narrators. I think we'll have 13 or 14. I need to count again.
Okay.
And then in this volume, 12 authors. The number of authors that are first-time authors is to be determined, and we could talk about it when
I
we talk
think
about the
it's
launch of the
half or
audiobook.
over half.
Okay. I
So
love
what
that.
is fascinating to me on this one, they're either first time authors
Mhm.
or they're publishing 2 or 3 books at one time right now. Like there's no in between.
Yes.
Like it's like boom. Yeah, because Ray Lee has 2 books
Yes.
coming out.
Yes.
Um Anamata has 2 books coming
Yes.
out.
I mean, I thought
Uh
yes.
uh, Dr. Anna Gottman has
Yes.
2 books coming out,
Yes.
and then for Sula, she's first time author.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, whoa, so exciting.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm not on the
Jailon,
first time, am I? Not on the
no,
first
you're
time
not.
list anymore.
You're
Yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
Jailon's not a first time published.
Mhm.
Because she's a poet, a published poet, but it's the first time being authored in a book and one that's international because she's
Mhm.
coming to us from Alexandria, Egypt. So.
Yes.
So much goodness to celebrate, my friend. So
Mhm.
much goodness.
Yes.
And
And
yeah,
we have permission to rest. We
we
have
have
permission to
permission
rest
to rest.
after big things, after little
Yep,
things, whenever your body feels like it needs it. That's what we're
right,
shooting for. So,
right.
congratulations.
Congrats. I
Yes.
appreciate you.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
for
for being here.
everything.
Yes.
And we will check in. You
Mhm.
might see us popping around socials or check out our social media this weekend as we share
Yes.
some stuff.
Yeah.
And really, I encourage anybody that's listening that's made it to this point, connect with our authors. Like, if you see us lifting up their work on the Women Connecting Wisdom platform, go
Yeah.
connect with them. They're incredible. Our volume 1 authors and our volume 2 authors. Like,
Mhm.
you want to know what they're up to in this world
You do.
and you want to
Yeah.
collaborate with them.
Yeah. Yes. So again, we have that set up for you in a list of different ways and get plugged into the authors that you see can support you in the wellness that you're looking for and stay tuned to everything that we have for you. And as always, in the meantime, we'll talk to you guys soon. Be wise, be well, be whole. Thank you for being here.